TRE.
Talk Radio Europe.
Daybreak.
Good morning. It is 9:20. With us on the line now from the UK is Frank Bothwell. He's the founder of the Thomas Franks Foundation, who since the beginning of the pandemic have been delivering meals to those in need through the Feeding Communities project. They've now teamed up with the Real Junk Food project to trial luxury ready meals made from surplus food. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Good morning. Thank you.
Hi.
Great to be on.
That's great to have you. Thanks for joining us. So tell us first of all about the Thomas Franks Foundation, can you?
I can indeed, yeah. So our own charity, the foundation, was formed a couple of years ago, pre the pandemic, and its aim was to fund education for gifted and talented impoverished children. And during the pandemic, we decided to take half our resource and put that into a project called Feeding Communities, which was needed at the time and is still needed now. And to date, we've produced over 500,000 fresh meals for those suffering food poverty to around about 110 charities in the UK and in the European countries that we operate in.
Wonderful. It must be a lot of work to be doing that on a daily basis, and probably makes you realise how bad the situation is for a lot of people and how many people are in need of food and going through a really tough time.
I think you're right, and that's been exacerbated by this pandemic. I think people have struggled financially and mentally, and respite through great food has been one of the things that I think we've seen has been welcomed by those people. So we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, brilliant. So tell us about your work then with the Real Junk Food project. That's taken on a new kind of direction with them.
It is really, yeah. So Adam Smith, the founder of the Real Junk Food project, he's a bit of a genius really, and we teamed up with him about sort of 4 months ago, and we came up with an idea at his Kindness warehouse in Leeds, which was to produce great food from surplus food. So the brand Surplus to Purpose was formed by the pair of us, and that's going live on 2 trials now. So the first trial was to produce 400 meals from surplus food, and we produced over 6,000 meals on that first trial. The second trial, which is underway now, is a national trial through our kitchens, and we think we'll do around about 50,000 luxury meals from surplus food supplied by the Real Junk Food project, and to go to those in need. That's the second trial. And the aim is then to ramp that up to over 2 million meals a year under the brand Surplus to Purpose.
That's incredible. So where does this surplus food come from?
So the surplus food comes from Adam Smith and his connections. He is one of the largest collectors of waste food and surplus food, and he can speak about that himself more than I can. But the connectivity with that food chain is where we get our ingredients from to produce these luxury meals, mainly plant-based, but some aren't. And I think that our aim is not just to give that food away, it's also to produce something which can be sold, to then, in time, produce revenues for both of the foundations to do more good.
Oh, wonderful. Because a lot of, so much food waste comes from supermarkets and restaurants and things, or obviously, as you say, Adam's various connections, but a lot of places have to get rid of stuff because of dates and health and safety regulations, things like that. But the food is perfectly edible, and that's where a lot of this food waste comes from.
Well, you're right, and a good example of that is that we've intercepted some flour, which is there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's strong white flour to make bread, and that flour is going into all of our kitchens over the next few weeks, and we'll probably produce on the first trial of this flour something like 20,000 loaves of bread. Those loaves of bread are completely edible and can go into charities, those that are suffering food poverty, or perhaps even to go to carers that have no respite. So it's a good example of where you can use this food to good end, and people can eat it.
Yeah, amazing. So, I mean, you must need a lot of funds for this, because this can all be. I know that the food that you can get can be free. Is free a lot of the time that's being passed on. But then, obviously, the people that are making it, turning into meals, somewhere down the line, people need to be paid. So, donations and things must help massively.
Yeah, they do, and thank you for mentioning that. So, our own foundation has spent quite a lot of money, probably hundreds of thousands of pounds on donating sums of money to go into this project, but also we have external donors, great organisations. There's just a few to mention, like Bearings, who have funded probably in the region of £125,000 to go towards this project, but also great companies like Gymshark and Lounge Underwear and Octra, just to mention a few that have donated large sums of money. The Bellevue Education Group is one of those that have come into this project recently, donating quite a lot of money to go into the project of providing meals for those that are suffering, particularly the homeless, which is a scar on society.
Yeah. And how do you work out the kind of meals that you're going to create? You said a lot of it's plant-based. Is that for a kind of, again, a sort of health and safety issue? It's easier to transport and keep for longer periods of time?
I think the Surplus to Purpose brand will be mainly plant-based because it is, as you mentioned, much easier to do that. But the trials will open up to other avenues. Under Feeding Communities, the food that we're producing for the charities that we work with to give to those groups that need it at the time, we've got set recipes to make sure that we can capture all the allergen information and the nutrients on the labels so people know what they're getting. So it's important that we do that recipe count precisely on those recipes.
Mm. And how many meals do you tend to produce at one time that are the same meal, the same recipe?
Well, a good example is that there's a charity in Norwich that we're producing only 250 meals for this week, so we can get an order for as little as 250 and get those dispatched within the same day. There are projects going on during the summer holidays, for example, that are in planning now, where we'll do 20 or 30,000 meals in a couple of weeks from London kitchens. So we're constantly in planning for projects that are coming up.
That's amazing, and I bet there's people who are working tirelessly every day, not getting holiday, ensuring that people are getting fed.
Well, absolutely, and there's an army of volunteers that we've now got it organised where people do get time off and they can just sometimes volunteer for one day or a couple of hours a day.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's great, and people like giving back. I think charity is supposed to be about volunteering and feeling that you're doing something good.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Well, if people want more information about the various projects, that you have a website, don't you?
We do indeed, yeah. And if you can visit our website, which is thomasfranks.com, we'd be happy to take any donations or advice or perhaps even people wanting to volunteer.
Great. And there's another website, the feedingcommunities.co.uk as well.
That's correct. Thank you.
Great. Frank Bothwell, thanks so much for joining us and keep up the great work. Well done to you all.
It's our pleasure. Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.